Yeah, this is a little gallery visit with me standing on High Bridge Street in Newcastle. I'm about to check out Tyne Music Youth Collectivism exhibition. It's presented by the NCA, that's Newcastle Contemporary Art Gallery, with Gateshead Music Collective and Sunderland's Musicians Collective. They've collated a series of photographs, fanzines and interviews exploring the legacy of Tyne youth music collectives dating back to the 1980s and beyond. This NCA building is not to be confused with the optimistic Waygood Gallery, which was about 15 years ago. It was intended as a new public space for the North East, including 2 galleries, 40 artist studios, a shop, a courtyard with a cafe and a bar, and a late night basement venue. Unfortunately, all these things didn't happen. There was an article in The Guardian stating that the Waygood Gallery funding was refused after £6 million over budget, with 5 years overdue, with no opening date in sight. So the Waygood was business as usual at the Hawkers building in Shields Road, while the High Bridge studios were being redeveloped. A report found that those in charge did not have the skills needed to maintain a multi-million pound revamp. I think it's another classic example of money being squandered in Newcastle to artists with no management skills or strategic project experience. Some people said that the money had actually lined the pockets of the management team, and others said it was an obscene waste of taxpayers' money, and it was also the centre of an unfair dismissal claim. So I don't know what happened to the money, and I don't know if some of the money went on this building, or were the Waygood revamping some of the Hawkers building which they had, while this building was actually getting redeveloped. But that's a little bit of information about the Waygood. If anyone wants to contact me about the Waygood, they can get in touch by contact@peep-magazine.co.uk. But look at the space now. I mean, 2 whole rooms here with a kind of, for want of a better word, like a Toblerone skylight. Yeah, this is quite cool. A poster coming straight in: Youth Music Collectivism, the Garage 1980 to 1981, the Station 1982 to 1985, and the Bunker 1982 to 1987. And the Garage, the Station and the Bunker were spaces that people could play, punk bands and alternative music musicians could gather and get funding for spaces in the northeast to play and practice their art. What we're seeing here is no glue, no glass bottles. And if anyone can remember, I mean, I can't really remember, but through conversations of other people and seeing kind of the tail end of the punk scene, the punks were classed as glueies, really, because the ones in Newcastle, the ones that I can remember being spoke about, were a lot of them were sniffing glue. A friend of mine here says also sniffing gas. So it was really commonplace to see a lot of like blue shopping bags full of glue. And if you got on buses and they were just stinking of glue upstairs, this was like commonplace. It was just felt a bit uneasy as soon as you smelt that glue, because there was like people just acting crazy, just jumping around like we're seeing here, like a scene from The Warriors, just jumping around and playing, in my opinion, playing up to what they're supposed to be, But I'm sure all the punks weren't like this. It's just, I think even a couple of kids in my school cottoned onto the sniffing glue, and you could see them down at the lines catching them sniffing glue. And this was post-punk scene. The punk scene had long gone. When my friends were, well, they weren't friends, they were people in my class. They were actually being caught sniffing glue. So the tail end of the punk scene, the glue remained kind of thing. And I always remember as well, in my school, it was one of my first days, I was probably about 11 or 12, and then I'd already had a couple of altercations with a couple of kids in the same year, and maybe a year above. And I always remember walking along a corridor, being like, looking at the people in the school, and they were like men really, compared to me. Back in the day, there must have been about verging on to 14 to 15, maybe 16. They were like, I was a flyweight and they were heavyweights really, if you use the boxing analogy. So, and I always remember this one, ironically, he was a punk. He was dressed as a punk. He had all the paraphernalia of a punk, and he was just walking up the corridor, kind of facing me, like heading my way kind of thing. And I always kind of admired the punk scene, and I always liked it, you know. I always thought they were cool as and doing like alternative music and all the rest of it. Well, this punk guy, he comes straight up, and I always remember his arms didn't really move. He just walked. It was like something from a film. He's walking up the corridor, and I was walking along the other way, and I thought he was just going to push us out the way or something, you know, like what all the kids tend to do. And he was just walking up, and I happened to check out what he's wearing. He had like a leather jacket, studded, a big like chain around his neck with a padlock on, and he had like a really accurate Mohican. And I was like, is he in this school? He stopped just before I was going to walk past him, and I happened to notice his hands. And he actually was wearing like fingerless gloves with like studs in the knuckles. And I thought, oh no, he's going to do something or pull us to one side and like give us a little dig or something. But he actually said, if anyone fucks with you in this school, just tell us. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah man, don't let anyone fuck around with you in this school. If you get any shit, just come and see us. And I was like absolutely blown away. And I was like, oh yeah, cheers mate. His friend was actually another punk in the school, and he was mixed race. He's quite dark skinned, and I think the both of them just like had the run of the school, you know, when I think back. But again, they must have been the tail end, the diehards towards maybe picking up like second generation punk scene or something. I think they were, you know, they weren't there from the original onset of the scene kind of thing. But yeah, man, that always sticks in my head. I'll tell you what, Graham, I love this. Huh?
Chris Killip.
Oh, I
went to see at the Baltic.
Oh, yes. I'll check them out. I always remember that my lecturer said when he was looking through one of my magazines, Peep-magazine, he said it reminds me of a punk fanzine, DIY style, and that don't give a fuck attitude, you know. I'm looking through them here, and I kind of get what he means now, because it's actually the first time I've actually looked through a punk DIY fanzine. So it's really cool. If these had been up for sale, I would have bought the lot. Really capturing a piece of history there. I was also quite not shocked, surprised to see Chris Killip, the photographer, documentary photographer, and actually saying, yeah, I'm surprised to see this kind of work, but this is his kind of work, isn't it? For documenting the fisherman scene, the coal miner scene, the punk scene, the post-industrialised northeast town scene. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic what the guy's done, you know, the work. Just to get involved and in amongst it and crossing that line that I keep talking about. He's completely crossed the line, you know. Crossed that invisible photography line where you're part of it. You're not an onlooker behind the camera. You're actually part of what's going on, you know. The station was in Gateshead, apparently.
There's a map to
it. Even drew a little map with a Tesco on. Cool. It's amazing because people have kept all this stuff as a collective.
Yeah.
And then it would all be lost forever, wouldn't it?
Yep. If it wasn't documented.
I think they've captured it quite nicely, though, haven't they?